Good day, I'm Andolashik, and thank you for tuning in to Anon Influence. In this episode, we're in conversation with Hayley Owen, founder and CEO of Actorvate, and Kat Carstens, influencer and PR account manager at Actorvate. Hayley made her name for herself acting in the local soapie scene, starring in The Wild, Generations, Isidingo and High Rollers. In 2012, she decided to diversify her career by leveraging her strong network in the entertainment industry and started Actorvate. While you might still catch her in front of the camera from time to time, she spends most of her energy staying updated on digital trends and making sure her clients are seeing excellent results and exciting content. Kat is a PR and influencer management specialist with over 10 years experience working in PR and over the past 3 years, influencer marketing. As a content creator herself, she is quite familiar and well-versed in what content creators want from brands and what brands expect from content creators. This episode is for marketers and influencers alike. We discuss why TikTok is the flavor of the month with brands at the moment, what brands need to consider when they want presence on the platform, the type of content needed for the algorithm to favor it on TikTok, why niche content and niche influencers are the way to go at the moment, and what is the deal with longer form content on TikTok. Enjoy.
This podcast series has been made possible through an exclusive sponsorship from SA's #1 nano influencer platform, The Salt. Most brands have a communication line to their existing customers, but do not have a way to get them to have additional positive brand conversations. The Salt solves the problem by identifying brand fans and getting them to talk more about their positive brand experiences. The Salt have a database of over 230,000 registered brand fans and in-depth information on each to perfectly match an influencer to your brand. Reach out to them today and see what they can do for you.
Good afternoon, Hayley and Kat, and thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today. Before we get into our conversation, I would love for you just to take us a bit through about who you are and what a day in the life of you really looks like. Hayley, can we start with you?
Sure. Thanks so much for having us. We've been wanting to be on the podcast for a while. So let's get straight into it. We are Actorvate, and we are an influencer marketing specialist agency. We've been around for a while now, for 10 years, even before influencer marketing was even a term. I come from the acting world, and people were reaching out to me for my contacts in the celebrity world, and the influencer marketing just grew from that. So we specialize in partnering brands with content creators, and we also do some PR as well.
Amazing.
And a day in the life of an influencer agency. Well, things are always changing. No 2 days are the same, but we are responding to client briefs and putting creative strategies together. We are managing ongoing campaigns, ensuring influencers have, done the right content, put the right hashtags and handles. We're doing client reports. And we also, one of our favorite parts is we also on set quite a bit, shooting content for brands. So I guess, it's a bit of everything. And you, Kat?
Yeah, I think for me, it's the first thing I do is check my phone that nothing hectic has happened overnight. There's been no influencers doing things that they weren't supposed to do. And then I check Twitter, because that's usually where I get most of my news and my information from. And I can kind of see if there's anything trending or anything that we should jump on. So, that's how I start my day.
I love it, because you guys are like me. No day is kind of the same. Everything changes all the time.
Sure. And you need to put your finger on the pulse, because everything our influencers are doing, needs to be relevant and on point with what's trending.
No, exactly. So obviously influencer marketing is constantly evolving, and there's new platforms that pop up all the time. Some lead to great success like the TikToks, and some doesn't, unfortunately. But at the moment, we see that TikTok is basically the flavor of the month. Hayley, why do you think that is? Why is everyone talking about TikTok?
Sure. Well, I think TikTok is the power of the short form video. We all know our attention spans aren't great. And TikTok is short, it's fun, it's a positive space. It's not hugely political and heavy and argumentative. It's fun. It's lighthearted. It incorporates music, which is great, and really youth is kind of the way to the youth's heart. So I think, that's really why it's catching on like wildfire. And also, Kat and I were saying yesterday, like, it gravitates towards authenticity because a lot of the content isn't hugely produced. A lot of it isn't brand content that you see on your feed. So it's really just people doing everyday things that you can relate to.
100%. And I think it's also that flawsomeness that everyone's embracing. We want to actually relate to people, seeing people do things kind of like, yeah, that's kind of normal. I also do that. I didn't know anyone else does that.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely an element of relatability on TikTok.
So do you guys find, I'm sure a lot of brands are asking you for campaigns specifically on TikTok, but do they actually know what this means? Or is it just kind of jumping on the bandwagon, saying like, seeing everyone's on TikTok, we need to be on TikTok?
Yes, I think all brands, if they haven't already done a TikTok campaign or haven't asked about one, they certainly are asking now. And I think brands are curious to the space, and not all brand managers, for example, even have a TikTok account. And so for the older generation that aren't on it, it's a bit of a gray area that they don't know much about and need quite a lot of expert advice in.
So what is that expert advice, Hayley? If a brand manager comes to you saying like, we've never done a TikTok campaign, what are those things that they really should kind of keep top of mind when they actually want to go into this?
Yeah, Kat, do you maybe want to speak to this?
I think just to answer the question, I think a lot of people, they just want to jump head first into the TikTok world, but I think it's not as simple as just making a video and putting it out there. Like, TikTok is very different to Instagram. From what we've seen, the influencers and the content creators that are doing well and the brands that are doing well, they understand what their audience is looking for and they're filling that need. So, I think a brand really needs to think about what it is they want to put out there rather than just having a TikTok channel for the sake of having a TikTok channel, because you're not going to be posting your ads up there. That's going to completely fall flat. We've seen brands do that. They think it's a great place to post a TVC. And it falls completely flat, and they're like, why didn't we go viral? So I think it's just making them understand, like, yes, we want to help you in getting this TikTok channel running, and obviously influence is a big part of that, but there needs to be a bigger content strategy that forms part of, why your brand is on TikTok and what your place is in the space.
So Kat, do you see when clients come to you with these requests, do they already have some kind of understanding of that? Most of them? Is it only like a small percentage who's really a bit clueless, or is it just like a big education?
I think it's a bit of both. I mean, some clients, they just kind of, how it is. They just want to go viral and they just want to do a dance. And it's like, okay, but we can definitely incorporate dance into this, but does that actually translate into what you're trying to communicate? Because not all businesses, brands are going to get their message across by doing a trending dance. So I think it's just making them understand, how do you fit into the space? Are you going to be someone who's going to bring education to consumers? Are you going to show the fun side of your product? It's just really trying to understand what is it that you want to do on TikTok, and not just being on TikTok to be on TikTok. So I think, some of our brand managers, they really do understand. And a lot of the others, they kind of just say to us, well, we are looking to your expertise to see. We're looking for your expertise to kind of give us some direction on what could be on TikTok and what's going to work for the influencers, what's going to work for our brand. So I think it's a bit of both. Some of our clients kind of know what they want to do, and others are looking to us for feedback on what we think is working and what will work for their brand.
I think you said something so important there, and it's not just about jumping on a trend. You're seeing some dance trend is trending, now you want to hop on it. It really is thinking about that. What does it bring to your audience? Does it educate them? Does it give them entertainment? Where do you really want to lie? Because you can't just hop around, because that also doesn't work.
Mm.
So Hayley, after now we've obviously discussed that there is some education to be done still, and there needs to be some thought actually behind why, if a brand wants to be on TikTok, is it the space for them? What do they want to contribute to it? In your opinion, do you think that any brand can be hugely successful on TikTok if only they understand it a bit better?
So I think it's definitely easier for some brands to be on TikTok than others. For example, a consumer brand like a hair care brand or a beauty brand, it's much easier for them to fit the TikTok space than, say, a financial bank. But having said that, if the brand has strategy behind it, then they can certainly play in the TikTok space. They just need to, as Kat said, work out why they're there. Are they there because they want to relate to the younger audience that's on TikTok? Do they want to make their brand relatable, or do they want to play in the education space? Or they just need to have a clear objective for being in the space.
Absolutely. And I think that strategy is even more important when you go to TikTok, because it's such a space for everyone just to kind of express who they are. And if you don't show up authentically as a brand, your audience is also going to pick up on that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the algorithms don't favor branded content on TikTok. So they actually favor, that's why a lot of smaller creators can do really well on TikTok because, the platform's all about authenticity.
Yeah. And I would love for both of you maybe just to elaborate on that. Like, what is that expert advice that you would give someone who's maybe had a brand on Facebook and Instagram for years and years and years? And I think it's quite a mind shift to now go to TikTok. What would you tell them? What's the best advice you can give them to actually be successful on there?
Kat, you go for it.
Well, I think it's just trying to understand. I think it comes back to like what I was saying in the beginning, is trying to understand what your audience is looking for. So let's just say if you're a makeup brand, what is it that your audience is craving? What are they, when they log on to TikTok, what is it that they want to see from you? So like when I log on, and my algorithm is obviously, catered towards what I'm interested in, but I'm looking for content that shows me how to take a better photo, how to cook a meal idea for dinner. Like another person might log on and they might be interested in seeing like how to use this lipstick, how to use this mascara. And I think brands just have to understand that when a consumer logs on or comes and visits your page, what is it that you're giving them that kind of allows them to be more invested in your brand and your offering, your service, whatever that may be. So like I said earlier, it needs to be something that really educates and entertains them to keep them on the platform, because TikTok is that kind of thing where you just keep scrolling and keep scrolling. If it doesn't interest you, you're moving on. So you really need to capture people's attention very quickly. And there's so many tutorials on like the kind of hacks that do that, like starting your video off with these 5 things will make your video go viral. Like as long as you capture a person's attention in the first 3 to 5 seconds, you've got them hooked on your content, and they're going to keep coming back for more and more. And then I think what's also important is that you stick to your niche and you stay in your lane. So the accounts, from what I've seen, that have done the best have been niche accounts. So accounts that religiously post the same sort of content over and over again with the same formula. Those are the accounts that do well, that blow up, that go viral. So I think if you like hopping between different types of content and different messages, your page might not do as well as someone who's religiously doing the same content piece and similar like formula over and over again.
Can I add to that, Hayley? As well? In terms of what I would advise clients if they also wanted to go into the TikTok space, is that it's not a platform, like you said, that where you can just repurpose content that's been created for other platforms. It is something you need to commit to, because there's quite a lot of original content you're going to have to make for your TikTok channel. So don't think you can just repurpose content. You need to commit to going the TikTok route and creating the content that TikTok needs.
Absolutely. And I think formatting as well. Some of these brands you see post their TVCs and it's not in the right format and the right dimensions. And you're like, all of that plays into the experience because it's this full immersive experience that TikTok's all about. It's visual, it's the sounds on. So if you just put a TVC on there that's not even the right format, I think people just keep on scrolling, right?
Yeah,
exactly. And what we try to do as well from our side is when we brief influencers, we'll kind of just say to them, you need to make sure that you're shooting in a vertical way. You need to make sure you're shooting in good light. You need to make sure you're using a trending audio. So those are all the things that we make sure our influencers do so that the content does perform well on the brand page and kind of just fits in and looks part of the TikTok aesthetic.
Perfect. And I'm glad you just mentioned influencers, yeah, because I would love to shift a bit gear. And I know also TikTokers don't like to be called influencers. They like to be called content creators. And I think I completely understand it because it was all about that raw content. But what really are those differences when you're looking at choosing influencers for maybe a Facebook or Instagram campaign, say, versus really looking at those creators that will do good for your brand on TikTok? Are there any differences that you need to be aware of?
I think, okay, with all creators, obviously you want to see like their true reach of their posts and their engagement rate. But with TikTok, the number of followers isn't as important with Facebook and Instagram because, like I said, the TikTok algorithm will favor smaller creators and won't necessarily like promote your post just because you've got a lot of followers. So I would say that is the main difference, is that you can really use niche, smaller influencers on TikTok. Would you agree, Kat?
Yeah, definitely. Like a perfect example and one that people always talk about is, you can have 1,000 followers on TikTok, but you can have 100,000 views on your TikTok video because the TikTok AI is so much more advanced than what Instagram is. Everyone always talks about the Jennifer Lopez example. She did that dance twist and it got like 160 something million views and she only had 9 million followers at the time. So I think it's so different to Instagram. And I think Instagram is trying very hard to play catch up with their AI. But that is something that I think creators and brands love about TikTok is that, you don't have to have thousands of followers. You can have only a few and just produce a really good quality piece of content that does well and just like flies very quickly. So I think, even from what we've seen, like influencers who've taken, years to build their following on Instagram, they can grow their following like within a month on TikTok. Just by, changing up some of the content, reposting it on TikTok. It's just so much easier to grow there as a brand and a content creator, I think.
No, it's crazy. And to that point, I've actually followed some people who've obviously just started on TikTok about a year ago, and they set themselves this challenge to see how they can grow their channel on there. And literally just by being consistent and, to your point, also sticking to their niche and to their lanes, they grew a ridiculous amount of followers within 3-4 months. They were like, hey, it's all about consistency. It's all about knowing your content and your niche. And there you are.
Yeah. I think so many content creators are seeing that they can get more brand deals by moving over to TikTok because it allows them to grow faster than they were ever able to on Instagram. Most of us have had our Instagram accounts for years and they can lie stagnant, even if you're producing like the best quality content. Then you go onto TikTok and you have one video that does extremely well and you're just literally flying overnight. So it's really crazy to see when you see it happen. I think I really understand why there is this huge shift to TikTok and why Instagram is kind of freaking out and trying to adapt quickly to be less of a photo sharing app and more of a video format app.
But do you think being able to grow so quickly on TikTok and having this amazing reach and all the benefits that we're seeing at the moment, do you think that's just for now because it's still relatively new and it might turn into what we're seeing Instagram is becoming? Or do you think, no, it's just completely different type of app?
I don't know.
I don't know. You never know. Is another newcomer going to enter into the industry that, won't make TikTok seem as fresh and exciting. Who knows?
No, exactly. No one can answer that, right? Because
No,
social media changes so quickly.
it really does.
And then on the flip side, with Instagram announcing all these changes about a week or two ago, I'm sure you guys saw the drama as well, where everyone was like, please, we don't want another TikTok. We're on Instagram because we want to be on Instagram.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder, should they really be competing? They're meant to be two completely different apps. The one is more for photo, or it used to be for photo sharing and more personal things. And then leave TikTok to do their thing. I don't know how I feel about it. Like, is it going to kill Instagram trying to chase TikTok?
I mean, Adam Mosseri, I feel like he's always just on the back foot of everything. Like, he does updates, and TikTok has done it a year ago. Like, I just feel like he's always, and then he tries to quell people's fears, and he's like, don't worry, you can still post photos, but we're a shopping app. We're going to have recommendations. Like, he just basically contradicts everything that he says. So I think he's trying to calm people down, but also he's basically saying, you guys like video. Please don't pretend that you don't.
I think the competition is healthy because it means that they're constantly trying to give the best, consumer experience. I think the competition has resulted in Instagram pushing Reels, which I think is great for Instagram. So, I don't know. I personally think that Instagram won't ever be TikTok, so they should rather stay more, as a photo sharing. And I think shopping is going to just get bigger and bigger on Instagram.
Oh, 100%. And I agree with you. I don't think they should be trying to be anything else than what they are. They're already doing amazing. And to your point, Kat, Adam is just always so calming when he speaks that you can't help but be calm. And then you really think what he's saying. You're like, really? Really?
I think he's got a background of crisis comms or something, because he has a way of delivering a message that actually just kind of makes you confused, but also calmer.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I like you, Adam. 100%. So when we look at briefing, because obviously in our industry, briefs is like the holy grail. If you can't brief properly, I don't know what you want from me. So what really should be in a good TikTok creator brief for influencers? Let's start with you, Hayley.
What should be in a TikTok brief? Okay, I think a TikTok brief needs to have a certain level of freedom for the influencer, but you need to be very clear on your objectives. What is the brand? Are you trying to get people to buy a product? Are you trying to get people to relate to the product? Are you trying to are you trying to introduce a new product? I think the objective needs to be very clear. I think the brand identity needs to be conveyed in the brief. If the creator doesn't know the brand personality, because you don't want to hit the wrong mark when it comes to that. Kat, you're our brief expert. What else?
I think the client obviously needs to let you know, do they want the influencer to jump onto a trending audio or a trending premise? Do they want them to kind of steer away from that? What is the length? I mean, ideally what we've seen is anything over 30 seconds is, there's drop off. So I would say what is the length of the content need to be? How much into the video are they going to show the product? Does it have to be shown up front? Should it be put more towards the end? Because oftentimes you'll notice on a person, on a creator's page, the content that they've just produced that's part of their niche, it always does well. But then you'll notice the branded content, from what I've seen, is usually a lot less viewed than what their normal content will be. So it's just always important to try and get them to incorporate the product in a way that looks part of their usual content and isn't a completely different takeaway, something that you would never see on their page before. So So yeah, there's this one girl, she always does these flashbacks to Y2K and stuff. And then sometimes she'll like make fun of makeup that she used to, I'm sure you've seen it, like makeup she used to wear in the 90s or whatever. And then she'll find a way to incorporate the makeup brand that she needs to have sponsored in a way that looks natural and looks like she's still kind of pointing fun at like Y2K or whatever it may be. But if she had just done a normal tutorial video, that probably would have tanked. But if she does it in a way that her audience expects, the video will most likely do well. So yeah, I think it's just understanding that, the influencer needs to understand what the client wants at the end of the day. What do they want out of it? What maybe they want brand reach or just a little bit of understanding about their product, and just like incorporating it in a way that feels natural and doesn't feel like hashtag sponsored the whole way through,
Hashtag no filter. That's how this podcast is delivering real down-to-earth stories told by real people. For an influencer campaign that takes brand conversation to everyday real-life situations, go check out thesalt.co.za. They are the undisputed experts in real influencer marketing.
I think those are great points. And I want to know what your thoughts are of sometimes bringing in the creators from like the inception of that idea phase with client for brainstorms and stuff, just so that there is that alignment to what the creator maybe come up that he knows will work with his audience versus what I know we all know brand managers and it's their babies. They're very prescriptive. So what is your thoughts on bringing those creators in from the start?
I think a content creator, the onboarding process of bringing the content creator and the brand together is so important, and it's often overlooked or just kind of rushed with a quick email or maybe even a phone call. And I think the better that brand onboarding is, the better, the two are going to work together. So I think it's great if you can bring if a brand identifies a creator that really kind of resonates with them, and they bring that creator in to have a say in what they want to do for a particular campaign. I think that's an amazing way of working, because you'll just get to the right product quicker, I think, and you won't have so many reverts. And yeah, I think that bringing the creator in early really helps.
I agree. And I also think they feel a bit more part of like the marketing team. So they feel a bit special, and they generally go so much more like above and beyond for that brand at the end of the day, just because they feel like they are valued team member. They're not just another creator that's been hired to create a piece of content.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So Kat, you are an influencer on Instagram and on TikTok. We all follow you. I make your recipes. It's great. So thank you. So I want to know from you, from a creator or an influencer point of view, do you actually approach your content differently when it's for Instagram versus when it's for TikTok? Or do you kind of make one piece of content and just kind of split it?
Look, I mean, I only got TikTok a few months ago, so I'm really not an expert at like learning when it comes to content creation. But what I have picked up and what is actually very hard for me to come to terms with is TikTok is all about like very off the cuff content, like just shooting and not putting too much effort into it, just picking up your phone, make sure you obviously have good lighting, but picking up your phone and just talking and just shooting content and really not editing too heavily. And that has been a big learning for me, because the way I was shooting for content for brands on Instagram and for Reels was all like, I would put a lot of effort into it and I would spend time editing and think of cool cuts. And it's not to say that transitions are dead, but I just mean like, what I've noticed with TikTok is the most random video I've ever shot. Like just walking into the shop and talking about like this can of whatever that I've bought. That will do so well. But the video content that I shoot professionally will just flop. And it's so bizarre to me. And I think it's, just coming to the terms of the idea that, letting go of trying to be perfect and trying to have this lovely, beautiful, curated feed and everything is lovely color coded. And I've had to let that all go. And it's been actually really difficult, because I had this like really pretty white aesthetic with like pops of brown and pink. And now my feed actually just looks like someone screw up on it, but it's doing better because that's what people want. They don't want everything to look beautifully filtered and edited, and they want to see the real side, and they want to see the grit, and they want to see what you're doing behind the scenes and what you're eating. So yeah, I think TikTok is great for getting you out of your shell and, you know, kind of stopping you from always trying to strive for perfection and have everything perfect. But that's my understanding of TikTok. It's just very off the cuff content, very random stuff does well.
But
I also think like the younger you are, the better your content will do. Sorry, Anne.
No, please continue. That's a very valid point. Makes me feel very old when I'm on TikTok.
Like the young kids, they just get it. They just get onto their phones and they just start talking, and their content does well, so it works. I mean, anything that looks way too scripted or you put too much effort in is
It's like no effort here. Sorry for your hours of editing. But it's a very difficult mindset to change, because that's kind of where we started with social media. That's how we were kind of conditioned. Like, it's beautifully curated. You're looking at your color schemes. When you shoot, make sure it's like perfect and everything you're doing. And then you get to TikTok, and was it last year or the year before, some guy on a skateboard was drinking some cold drink and it went viral. They sold out of that cold drink nationwide, and it wasn't even a branded piece of content. He was just skateboarding. And people started doing parodies, and you're like, what is happening?
It's totally bizarre. And like no one, I don't think really anyone understands it. But from what I've seen, like, to just summarize, it's the random stuff where you're just being yourself and you're not having any, like, I don't know, like, just be yourself and just talk off the cuff and don't plan anything. And that seems to do well.
Yeah, I follow a couple of accounts where it's literally, and I'm like, why do I follow these accounts? But I love it. It's just chicks like talking about experiences in their life or advice or just weird random stories of nights out. And I'm like, it's got millions of views. How?
Yeah, it's amazing. It just gives you a little bit of insight into the human psyche. Like, we're all kind of interested in each other's lives and what everyone's doing. And I think we're all just very nosy.
And we also don't want to feel, you know, on Instagram, you just see a whole lot of people looking perfect, you know, that doesn't necessarily make you feel good about yourself. Whereas if you see everyone's just kind of normal like you, then, you know, it helps.
Yeah, that's really true. I think it is coming with that whole movement of just sort of self-acceptance. You don't need to be perfect. And that's probably where TikTok's also really flourishing, because the new generations are all about that. It's all about embracing all your flaws.
Yeah.
So how do we actually take what we've just spoken about and incorporate that into branded content? Because, I mean, can you imagine giving a brief to an influencer? I mean, I'm a bit like pedantic, where I want to be like, this needs to be featured. I want to give you some freedom, but now it's TikTok, and I'm just going like, YOLO, just make sure you have something in there. Yeah, I feel like a lot of brand managers will have heart attacks.
And I think that's where the influencer selection is so important. So, for example, we've got a financial brand that works really well on TikTok with some TikTok content, but we are working with creators that's what their feed is about. It's about like talking about financial tips, like everyday tips that help you and me, you know? And so it's not kind of completely out of the blue that a brand is now, you know, sponsoring the content. So they are still doing what they do best in partnership with the brand. It's not like the brand has now come and changed the direction of their content.
And I think that's very important. And I think that's across the board, right? It's choose influencers who speaks to the niche, who's trusted, and who's just kind of aligns with those values. It all comes down to that as well.
Yeah.
Totally.
So let's chat paid media, because over the last years, we've seen it obviously come in really, really big in Facebook and Instagram, just purely because Zuckerberg won't let anyone see your content unless it's paid for. So performance media has really become a big part of what we do. We've got our content creators that create these beautiful and really authentic, relatable pieces of content, but now we obviously have to get people to see it. Across Facebook and Instagram, we can target that really, really actually scarily to who sees that. But TikTok is a little bit different, just purely because they kind of cater their feeds to whoever is watching. So maybe, Hayley, can you maybe expand on how that actually works and why it's still so important to have that as part of a TikTok strategy as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it is a little bit different to Facebook and Instagram in that if I've got a business account on Instagram, personally, I can boost my content. Whereas not everyone on TikTok that has an account can boost their content and put money behind it. But what is so amazing is that we can now, for example, I'll give a real life example. Like Wimpy, for example, is not on TikTok, but we working with some amazing TikTokers that are talking Wimpy, and we can, put performance media behind their posts on TikTok without Wimpy having to have a Wimpy account, and we can, like you say, boost those posts to a very, very targeted audience base. And it really just like the ROI of your spend is incredible, and you can be incredibly targeted with your audience. So it is definitely we always advise that element with your campaign.
Absolutely. So let's talk trends. We obviously know that TikTok has kind of ballooned short form video content. Before that, it was kind of a thing, and now it's just like that's what everyone wants to do. Reels has come out, and also, Hayley, I'm with you. I love a good reel. But in your opinion, over the next year, what will those trends look like? Is there something else that's coming up now that maybe not take over the short form video content, but maybe complements it? Kat, maybe you've got some ideas.
Well, I mean, trends is hard to predict because, as we said, we never know what they're going to do. But I mean, obviously, there's been they're trialing this thing with your videos are pretty much going over your whole screen, and your photos on Instagram are going over your whole screen. I'm not sure of the exact word that they call it, but this full screen immersive thing, not a lot of people have been very happy with it, but that's kind of something that they're trialing. And I think it's, again, them on the back foot of TikTok. And then I don't know if you've noticed, but you on Instagram now, there's recommendations. So it's recommending people's content to you. And it's in between that, like got all the sorts of shopping stuff weaved into it. So I mean, that's where they're going. They're probably just going to keep investing in all of those sorts of things. And you know, even though they say they'll still allow people to post photos and that sort of thing, they're moving away from that. I think videos, they're just going to maybe incorporate more longer form videos. Maybe they'll take away IGTV and replace it with something else. But videos is the future. And I think you either jump on or you jump off. But I don't think that there's anything going to change in that sense. But I do think that there needs to be, I know overseas, it's, you know, you can get paid for the content that you're doing on TikTok and Instagram. We don't really have that properly in South Africa yet. And I think it's a missed opportunity for all the content creators that we have that are not really getting paid for the content that they're producing. So I would like to see that they, you know, incorporate some way of giving back to the influencers and the content creators that are on the app all the time, creating amazing content that helps people stay on the app. So more towards the way YouTube has the payment for like over 1,000 views or something like that. I really think that they need to think about that a little bit more because, I mean, what are all these creators getting out of it if they're not doing paid campaigns?
Yeah, I think TikTok is slowly monetizing in South Africa. And I think it's just going to grow more and more like it is around the world. But we a little bit late to the party, but it will come.
I love that we're a little late to the party always, because then we can see all the mistakes the other countries have made, and we can just kind of go like, yeah, we're not gonna do that. That's fine.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the YouTube and the longer form content. TikTok initially came out and short form content, and that's why people are there. And like we said earlier, our attention spans are so small. I think it's something like 12 seconds, then someone is like already scrolling unless it's really, really engaging. But now TikTok's come out with, I think it's 10-minute videos, and you're thinking, why are they doing that? What's your thoughts on that? Do we like it? Do we hate it? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, so the only time I'm watching a video that's over 10 minutes or is 10 minutes is if it's very educational. So at the moment, I'm very into interior decorating because we're building a house. So I'm watching these long form videos on YouTube and these long form videos on TikTok. So I feel like there is a place for it, but it usually means that the content is teaching you how to do something, showing you something that you have no idea. Like, I just feel like learning stuff on TikTok and YouTube is huge. I mean, I'm very into that at the moment. Like, I love watching these videos and learning like the best way to paint, the best way to decorate. Like, so what I'm just trying to say is I think people will stay on and watch your content if it somehow enriches their life or educates them, entertains them. Whereas like when you're just scrolling and you're just watching funny videos, that's what you're looking for. You're just looking for that quick hit, that 8 to 10 seconds video. So yeah, that's what would keep me on for 10 minutes.
And you, Hayley, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it is quite contradictory that they extending the length of TikTok videos, yet people have this short attention span. I think maybe it's also got to do with kind of if people aren't watching TV as much, and social media is now their form of watching series and, you know, longer form video, then maybe kind of there's a space for that for the longer form. I think there are people that really do enjoy podcasts, and I think if the creators of that podcast really resonate with you, then you will watch a longer form video. So I think there is space for it. There is space for the 10-second TikTok short, and there is space for a longer YouTube or podcast like this. You know, if it's in your niche, if people are in like content creation, you know, they might listen to the end of this podcast. I think we're at 40 minutes. So if they've made it this far, then they're really interested in this topic. And I think that's what Kat says. If they're really interested in the topic, then, you know, and it's educating them on their niche, then they'll listen further. But I think majority of content is going to be consumed, or that is consumed, will be short form.
But then for me, it comes back to, why is TikTok not staying TikTok with short form? Leave it to YouTube for the longer form, and Instagram, keep your photos. People are on things for different reasons. And I just feel like all these apps wants to be everything for everyone.
Everyone, yeah.
And I don't know if that's going to work in the end.
I think they're also experimenting, you know, and they might put these features forward, see if it works, take it away. I think there's a bit of experimentation happening. That's my guess.
Fair enough. So we've come to the last question of our podcast. And Kat, I'm going to start with you. Just 2 or 3 quick learnings that you have learned from actually running influencer campaigns that you can put forward to people listening.
Yeah. Okay. So number 1, I would say make sure the client knows what they want. Because a lot of times clients have an idea in their mind. We've had it this week even, where a client thought that they wanted something. We produced that for them and it wasn't what they wanted. So that then causes a lot of delays and back and forth with the influencer and frustration. So yeah, make sure the client knows what they want. Talk them through examples, like just come up with scenarios in your mind of how the content can look, so that they, especially if they're a client that has never done influencer marketing before, so that they actually can think about the content they're going to receive and if it is exactly what they want. And then, yeah, just being very transparent with the influencer in terms of the contract and their deliverables. I think, you know, Hayley always laughs at me for this, but I schedule meetings into influencers' diaries when their content is due to me, when they need to sign their brief. Like, I have them on WhatsApp. And it's not to say that I'm trying to micromanage them, but it's more just so that they understand this is what you've agreed to and this is kind of what you need to stick to. But then also being flexible, like if the influencer feels that they need more time to shoot, then you're giving them that time and pushing back on clients and saying, listen, if you want a better piece of content, you need to give this person maybe another 2 or 3 days because they haven't cracked it yet. So, yeah, I think it's a lot of negotiating and being the middleman between the content creator and the client, and just trying to manage everyone's expectations so that no one's feelings get hurt. And then, yeah, just coming together to produce great content that then is repurposed, because what we find is a lot of the time influencer content kind of it happens and then it's like, okay, cool, we're done, tick box. But like, how is the brand actually repurposing that? Like, are they thinking of a way to put that into their content strategy? I mean, you've paid for those usage rights. You need to actually do something with it, engage with it, share it, comment on it, put it on YouTube. Like, yeah, just make sure that, the influencer didn't just go to all that effort for nothing, and make it worthwhile.
I think those are great. And you, Hayley, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I think like what you can hear from Kat is that through doing these campaigns, we've learned so much. And with every campaign, you even learn something new, having been in the business for 10 years. So my advice is to work with people who have extensive experience with influencer marketing, because you need to know what needs to be in that contract. You need to know what needs to be in that brief. You need to know what objective box you're ticking, how to make sure performance media works really well for your content. So, take advantage of people's experience in the industry. And
I think that is also an amazing point. Yeah, go with the experts, right? We've seen clients trying for the first time to do these things, and it's such a headache because it takes forever. They don't really know how things work. Like you say, what's in the contract? What do they have to do? All these things in between that they don't, it's not just phoning up an influencer to say, hey, yo, we're on. There's so much that goes into
it. You can run into so many dramas and headaches. So use our experience and our grey hairs.
Lots of grey hairs.
Yeah.
Ladies, thank you so much. That was amazing. And thank you for sharing your wisdom with us. I think just lastly, maybe tell people where they can find you online. So if they want to see what you guys are up to, they can.
Cool, thanks. Yeah. You can find us on social media, of course. Actorvate, it's the word actor, ACTORVATE. So we're at Actorvate. And I think you can email myself, Hayley at Actorvate, or Kat, CAT, at actorvate.co.za. And actorvate.co.za online as well.
Amazing.
It really is nice to speak to someone who knows our influencer language.
Same.
This podcast series has been made possible by The Salt, the influencer company that turns influence into affluence. In the same way that information is presented in this podcast in a relatable and authentic way, The Salt gets your customers to tell their real brand stories to their community. Go to thesalt.co.za to learn more about how The Salt can help you grow your business.